How we doing, Raven fans, Oriole fans? Thank you very much for joining us this week here on the Ravery Sports Podcast. Like and subscribe to all of our social media content as we grow and expand. Thank you. I had a couple new subscribers this week on YouTube. Thank you very much. Not a lot, still. Thank God for what's here. All right. More of you been watching. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, all of you out here that are doing that. We're dropping some more tonight, some more Fanatics links. So if you want to go get our information on, go and get some jerseys on Fanatics with the link, definitely, absolutely go ahead and do that. RaverySports.company.stock. As always, we can get Ravens and Orioles and everything and merchandise. We'll be happy to go ahead and get that squared away for you. Genesis Notary Services /Facebook.com. Definitely check that out if you want to book time for our notary business. So if you need a field inspection, notary, general notary, real estate, also too if you want wedding officiant, all that stuff is part of the notary business. Sometimes people just call and have questions about general notary. That's fine too. Anything, we're here. If you live in the Shenandoah Valley area, you know, we can go ahead and help you out with that. See Charles Harris, we are Legal Shield. If you want to help your business out there, go ahead, please, nowadays, get Legal Shield. Legal Shield is a great value, literally less than $50 a month where you could spend on a Legal Shield, and it gives you great value, great access to lawyers and all that, all the contracts and have. And I tell people wonder how I know what to do legally and things like that. Definitely, I'm using Legal Shield. Calling them, and they're helping me with a lot of things. So, and they can help you definitely too. Also too, if you have a business, you have a family, and all that fun stuff as well. Legal Shield, definitely check that out. One other thing, too, programming note. This Ravery Sports Podcast usually comes on Wednesday around this time. Next week, I will not be here. I'll actually be at a baseball game. So I'll actually be attending a game. So I will not be here. I will be here Thursday. The podcast will be one day later, Thursday, with our podcast. So keep that in mind. Programming note from the Ravery Sports Podcast. All right. And you see it here at the top of the stream here. We always start with football. And so we had one of the tougher tasks I've had as a content creator here in the offseason. How many Ravens are going to be on the top 20 NFL players of all time? That is really exactly what it says. Next week, we're going to start our top 10 lists. As well as far as for 2025, who are the top players in the division in each league, who's the top quarterbacks. We're going to start next week, running back all the way up. The last, right before the season starts, head coach will be the last category. But we're going to be doing this week. So this is kind of going to kick it off right here at the start. Who are the top 20 players of all time in the NFL at any position? Okay, so it's not just offense, defense, whatever. It's any position, all the time, anywhere in the history of the NFL. Okay, so a couple things here. I looked at not just obviously great players, but these are the greatest of the great players. So what guys who are the greatest of the great players? Things I looked at, obviously, stats all time, Are you leading all time in something? Are you the all-time leader in a category? Are you all-time rushing leader, passing, defense, sacks, something? Are you all-time leading everybody's ever played football in stats in something all time? So that's one. Also, two, not just stats, but impact on the game, right? So it's not just guys who have impact on it's not just stats, but did you impact the game? Did you change the game? How the game is played? How guys do differently? That always factors in. Third thing, also to winning. For me, it is. Some people say, well, that's not as big a thing. All-time greats win, right? All-time greats, for the most part. There's maybe one or two exceptions here where the teams weren't great, but for the most part, you got all-time greats. You got they win games. So those are the three big categories when you put together a list like that. Who are the all-time greats? Oh Lord. Hold on. We're going the wrong way here. That's my fault. I didn't move the slides. All right, here we go. All right, so we'll go in order. 20-1. Number 20, Pat Mahomes. I think this is the only current player on the list. Some of you are going to say, of course, when you see this, and I'm going to release this on Twitter, some of you are going to say, well, Peyton Manning, well, Dan Marino, all these other guys should be higher than Mahomes. I don't think so. Mahomes, if 2025 is the year where he doesn't make the AFC Championship, that'll be his first as a starter. I think it's 7 or 8 straight AFC Championship games, already has Super Bowl win, multiple Super Bowl wins, has a back-to-back Super Bowl win. I think, especially too in recent years, he is the reason they're winning. I don't think there's any question about it. The only thing with Mahomes, there has been some slippage on his dominance in terms of stats in the last year or two. You could say Lamar Jackson was better. You could say Josh Allen was better in terms of stats the last year or two. But he's been phenomenal. I think this is one of the greatest top 20 players of all time. I think he's really the only current player on the list. So Pat Mahomes, I have him at 20 as well. Mean Joe Green. Sometimes I'm going to say some of these guys were my mom's favorite players or these guys, but she would always talk about how Joe Green was. And Joe Green was, I think, one of the few Steelers jerseys that's retired. That's saying something. They only have 3 jerseys, which is ridiculous. They don't have Bradshaw and a lot of these. That's a whole other thing. But Mean Joe Green, I think, changed the way it was played football. That's one of the reasons why Joe Green is on the list. Joe Green, I think, the reason the term sack exists is for Mean Joe Green. So he almost predated it, that I think, as far as the term sack. But Mean Joe Green, I think, was a guy who changed the way he played, highly successful. You could have a whole bunch of Steelers on that list from the 70s, the successful run, one of the most successful runs in the history of the NFL, the 1970s Steelers. So Mean Joe Green, I have him at number 19. I have him just a hair behind the great Marilyn Olsen. When I was little, Marilyn Olsen was an actor. He was on Little House of the Prairie. He was one of the number one announcers along with Dick Enberg on NBC. So he was a very good player. And I think Marilyn Olsen, I don't think there's been a better defensive tackle in the history of the NFL. So tackle isn't, I don't think, probably in part, but kind of worked against him being higher. I don't think it's as big a priority on the field as well, stopping the run, especially in the modern, especially compared to the modern NFL. But I got no problem putting Marilyn Olsen in the top 20. I think this is the best defensive tackle in the history of the NFL. A little bit better than Joe Green, a little bit better than Aaron Donald, etc. I think I'm still going to have Marilyn Olsen. I think the fearsome foursome of the Rams, I think, is probably – they're maybe the greatest defensive front in the history of the NFL, one of them. So definitely is hard though to have some team. Ronnie Lott, I think, probably the greatest hitter ever at the safety position, and that's saying something. Lott really just changed your life, put the fear of God in you when you were running, when you were doing things. Lott, I think nobody hit harder than Ronnie Lott, period. Ronnie Lott, I mean, the rules now have changed. You talk about changing the game. Ronnie Lott, the reason why the guys nowadays run over the middle is the hits like a guy like Ronnie Lott was hitting on you. You were just terrified. Guys didn't even run over the middle like that. I mean, a lot of you younger fans probably don't even realize, like, when you look at guys running over the middle of the field, you know, Ronnie Lott was going to kill you, literally. Like, lay you out, put you on the stretcher. Nobody was more feared than Ronnie Lott. I think he's the greatest hitter that's probably ever at the safety position as well. He's good in coverage as well. I think everybody talks about the hitting because he was such a vicious hitter, but he was good in coverage. Defense was very good. Those Niner defenses were very underrated during the years that he was there. So Ronnie Lott, number 17. Number 16, Johnny U. Johnny Unitas, I think. I don't think there might be one of the most underrated players in the history of the NFL as we go. I think Johnny Unitas is the top 5 quarterback all time. I think the reason the Colts were a good team back then, it was probably not only because of Johnny Unitas, but they were really a dynasty that weren't. But Unitas was so good for so many years in Baltimore as the Colts quarterback, winning Super Bowl V, getting the team to Super Bowl III. He was a passer in the league at the time. It really stuck out because most of the league was a running league, running the ball, running backs and fullbacks got carries and things like that. And Unitas was the passer. He would actually throw the ball long in an era where you didn't see a lot of that. So Unitas really, in a strange way, got things to change because with his ability to throw the football. So I have Johnny Unitas at 16 there as well. Number 15, Sweetness. Walter Payton is there. I don't think there was a better the Bears won the championship in 85, and everybody talks about how great their defense was, the Super Bowl shuffle and the refrigerator. But guess who was there on offense was, I think, probably for the longest time, I thought was the best running back in the history of my lifetime was Walter Payton. Guys, I can see it now. Walter jumping over the pile into the end zone. First guy to do that. Really leap over the pile, get into the end zone. Sweetness, moved real. It was just such a joy to watch Walter Payton run the football. So shout out to the late Walter Payton as well. Dominant in an area of great running backs. There was a lot of great running backs too in the 80s when he played. But Walter Payton really stood out. You saw a lot of bigger guys like a Eric Dickerson and those like that. This was the sweetness, right? This was the runner. This was the speed. He had power as well. Don't get me wrong. Toughness playing in Chicago. But Walter Payton, I think, number 15 as well. Kind of the first two-way back. The guy who could run the ball out of the back, catch the ball out of the backfield, really changed the game. Anthony Munoz. As much as I love Jonathan Ogden, I don't think he was as good as Anthony Munoz was at tackle. I think there's a decent gap between him and everybody else here. Ogden, I would have him kind of top 50 list. I definitely have him, but Anthony Munoz was in a class by himself. Never needed help. All pro automatically. You see him right there protecting the blind side of Boomer Esiason. Always just a phenomenal tackle. I think like this, he was the guy that really people noticed. Like you talked about changing the game after the injury to Joe Theismann years ago in the Monday Night Football game, and it was protect the blind side, protect what the quarterback can't see coming. After Lawrence Taylor injured him, the guy that everybody wanted was Anthony Munoz, right? Anthony Munoz, who was a guy who actually protected the blind side by himself, no help. Doesn't matter who the rush is. Anthony Munoz, number 14 on the list. Anthony Munoz was phenomenal tackle on the list. Jake Butkus. You talk about sweetness and the Chicago and the toughness and all that. This Dick Butkus embodied toughness in Chicago. Look at that helmet, the old school bar set down the middle. That's what Dick Butkus was. Dick Butkus was a tough guy, man. Maybe he's the worst athlete on this list in terms of athleticism, but he just, again, fear. You were just so terrified of a Dick Butkus on the field. He just hit the Bears. The reason why he's not a little bit higher maybe is the Bears weren't very good the years he was there, but that didn't stop Dick Butkus from being a phenomenal inside linebacker, middle linebacker. The Bears have a history of it. They had Mike Singletary or whatever, but this guy was the guy that everybody feared. Just a tough, physical guy. You didn't run in his area. Dick Butkus would just take. I mean, the term decleating. If you ever heard that term where guys get knocked off their cleats or decleat or whatever, it was Dick Butkus. Go ahead and watch the film of Dick Butkus, and you will see the term decleating as well. Butkus, I think, at number 13. Going the wrong way. Number 12, Ray Lewis. I think the mantle I talk about was from Dick Butkus. This was the phenomenal athlete, Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis, there isn't a Ray Lewis in the league right now. Ray Lewis, I think, you don't see teams that have leadership on an entire football team in the most part at middle linebacker. I think Ray Lewis might have been the greatest leader in the history of the NFL, non-quarterback, or maybe at any position. I think Ray Lewis was a leader of teams that won. His defense actually catapulted the team. A lot of his career, not a lot of offense. Automatically had the league in tackles, over 100-plus tackles. Tom Brady said this was the player he feared more than any other player. His defenses were always top 10. I think the only time the Ravens defense was outside of the top 10 in his whole career, I think, was his last season or seasons, I think, where he missed a lot of games. But I think this might be I don't know if he's the most feared, but certainly when you talk about closer to the modern era, the 2000s, I don't think there was a more feared guy than Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis changed the whole thing in terms of how people look at the middle linebacker position. Number 7, John Elway is number 11 on the list, but it's weird too. It's hard not to think of the 7 when Elway. I don't know why his number is more synonymous with him. I don't know than even some of these other players on this list, but Elway, I thought, was a guy was just God-given, just God-given. What they tell you not to do as a quarterback, Elway could do all of those things. Hey, don't take the ball, run one way, and throw across your body and expect to have success. Hey, don't go ahead and run off the pre-snap, whatever, if you don't have great. Elway was just so God-given as well. Now, the only thing I would say with Elway, maybe he's not on the list without the 2 Super Bowls at the end of the career. That's a possibility, maybe. But I think everything else was there. All the stats. I thought he was an outstanding running quarterback. Not great speed, but his teams always won. It was Denver a lot of years without a lot of talent outside of the passing game. But he did actually go ahead and win the Super Bowl. At the end, I think he was a guy. He got his teams to Super Bowl, I think, 6 times. Elway, I think, was the biggest difference in the Denver in the history of the Broncos. I think John Elway, number 7. I can't do it again. Number 11, I knew I would do that on the list. John Elway, 11th greatest player of all time. Number 10 is the great Reggie White. Kind of think of him as a Packer for whatever reason more than he was with the Eagles, even though I think the Eagles, were a lot of his prime years. But I think Reggie White was the most unstoppable move in the history of the league, and that's the club move on defense. I think, just didn't have a chance. He was just going to knock you over. He hit you with that club move, and that was it. Reggie White was strong at the point of attack, maybe understatement to say that he was strong at the point of attack. Maybe one of the strongest players in the history of the NFL at the point of attack. I think Reggie White, maybe the greatest defensive end in the history of the NFL. I mean, one of the greatest players in the history of the league. So I think Reggie, phenomenal power and strength. Reggie White, I think I have him at 10. Had more success. Think of him more as a Packer. I think that's when they won the Super Bowl. I think that's maybe the height. I think also to free agency, not necessarily business changing the game, but there's another guy I want to talk about business as well. But the free agency that you see now in the NFL was really started by Reggie White. Wasn't a lot of free agency as well. Him going from Philadelphia to Green Bay, fighting and go ahead and getting the free agent. I think this is maybe the most impactful free agent in the history of the NFL. Either him or Drew Brees. I'll go ahead and if you want to say Drew Brees. But I think, no question about it, Reggie White, top 10. Emmitt Smith, number 9. All-time leading rusher in the history of the NFL. More rushing yards than anybody ever in history of the NFL. I don't think that's a record that's going to be broken anytime soon. Emmitt, I think, was just a force of nature as a running back as well. He kind of, in a way, I think, is almost underrated when you look at the history books, when you talk of being such a great runner. But Emmitt was power and speed at the same time. I think he was a great blend of both. I think he could make these great cuts, very subtle cuts, whatever. You talk about Peyton with his smoothness and all that. Not quite to that level, but had that as well. Not the power of a Bettis or Eric Dickerson or something like that, but he had that as well. He would run the game. John Madden, I'll never forget, he said the only time he ever shook a player's hand after a broadcast game was when Emmitt Smith played in the Giants game with a broken shoulder and actually tore him apart in a broken shoulder. He shook his head, and he's like, he's never done that in all years. I think Emmitt Smith was fantastic. Almost the only one I bring it up, but you got to bring up the great lines they had in Dallas. That's the only kind of maybe negative I have on Emmitt is he played around, I think, maybe the greatest offensive line history in the NFL, but that's about it. Emmitt was phenomenal. Deion Sanders. Deion, I think, is fantastic, man. Deion, I think, is the greatest the greatest corner. Even to this day, they call it the Deion Sanders coverage. Deion, you put him on an island, man-to-man, no safety help. People don't understand. If somebody got 20 passes in a whole season against Deion, that was maybe later in his career. Deion, I think, that you were going to throw at him, it was going to be incomplete, or he's going to take it away, period. I think he's very underrated as a player, things like that. And I think guys like this, there aren't guys in the league like this now. He doesn't care. I don't even think probably now in the league full of zone, they even have too many guys like a Deion Sanders who could just play man-to-man, no safety help, have a great game. Guys would avoid him. It was fantastic. Deion was tremendous. Business-wise, I think he changed things, though, as well because of his flamboyance and everything off the field. But he was a phenomenal player. Number 6, Joe Montana. Some of y'all may think this is a little low, but I think this is about the right place for Montana. I think Montana was one of the greatest players in the history of the NFL. Nothing but respect for great Joe Montana. Montana was fantastic. 4 Super Bowl wins with the 49ers. I think the offense that he ran was the greatest offense in the history of the NFL. I do think maybe Andrew Reid is challenging that, but the Walsh offense, no question of his success. Accurate. Joe Montana, you would watch him you could watch 20 games with Joe Montana and the ball wouldn't hit the ground. That's how good Joe Montana's accuracy was as well. Didn't have a phenomenal throwing arm, at least from not like an Elway or Marino or something like that. But man, he was just so accurate, just so consistent as well. Won all the time. Also great in the clutch. Gotta mention that with Joe Montana. So great in the crucial situations. Number 5, one of my dad's favorite players. The come out like a bunch of crazy dogs, Lawrence Taylor, LT. I think fear doesn't do it justice with Lawrence Taylor. People were terrified on the field of Lawrence Taylor. Football players are some of the toughest, biggest guys you ever want to meet, and he had them terrified to go against him. LT was, I think, maybe was the greatest defensive player in the history of the NFL. I don't think there is a guy that similar to like Ray Lewis and the Ravens. I think kicked that up a notch. I think he had a little more offense than Ray did as well, but he by himself was the defense. You didn't know. I mean, you just watched him over and over. Had the fear of John Elway and all the quarterbacks. Just made the Pro Bowl. I think it was 13 times or something like that. Lawrence Taylor, I think, was a force of nature, man. So shout out to LT. I have it at number 5. Number 4, the late Jim Brown. I think Jim Brown, was the greatest player. I think running back for a long time in the league. Actually played fullback, but he was a running back when he played. Guys ran and played, they played both spots. Both guys got the rock. Jim Brown, I think, is a phenomenal player. I think Jim Brown, was one of the greatest arm tackling. There was no such thing as Jim Brown. Jim Brown was just going to take you and just put you in the stands. The stiff arm. You ever see that stiff arm move? Like in all the like Jim Brown, that is what I think of when you think of Jim Brown. The stiff arm, the ability, and everything. So Jim Brown, I think, number 4, I have him on the list. Number 3, Barry Sanders. I just never thought that Emmitt Smith was better than Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, I think, was just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And when I got the pictures, like, got to have him cutting. Like, him moving is like Barry Sanders would just change direction, unlike anything I've ever seen. Run and shoot offense for the Lions. No fullback, no tight end. He would just run by himself. There's nothing like Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders cut, move so quick, so much of a difference maker. Home run every time he touched the ball. The only thing, he was on some bad Lion teams, and so they never really got him any help. I think ultimately that's why he retired. But Barry Sanders, I'd say there's nothing like Barry Sanders in the league now. So Barry Sanders, number 3. Tom Brady, I think, is the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. I know some of y'all like Joe Montana or whatever, but Brady was just one of one. I think just without him, I think he was so much a big part of what they had. Brady over Montana, he didn't have as much throughout his career. Yes, he had Gronkowski, but he didn't have those great receivers. He had good line play, but he doesn't have a lot of Hall of Famers on the offensive line. I think Brady, was the smartest player, in the league, as far as his ability and his talent as well. I mean, he did. I think there might never been a guy that did more with less than Tom Brady. Not a phenomenal athlete, but pliable. You heard, played a lot in his career. And I think, number 1, the great Jerry Rice, all-time receiving leader in the NFL. Rice, I think there's nothing like Jerry Rice. I had a conversation a long time ago, and somebody was talking to me about when Jerry Rice was playing. Well, Chris Carter's on the same. Are you kidding? There is no level with Jerry Rice. Watch Jerry Rice training videos, running up mountains, running up things. He just ran past people so easily. He never seemed to ever kick it into high gear. 2 quarterbacks, he took them. He was the biggest reason that Joe Montana and Steve Young got in the Hall of Fame. Number 1, Jerry Rice, greatest ever. Deal with it. There you go. So those are the top 20 players of all time. Next week, we're going to go into more to Raven stuff for sure. Ray Lewis, and I think, no question about it, top 15 all-time NFL player. I think no question about it there as well. Ray Lewis, phenomenal. All right. NBA Finals is coming up. We know it for sure. It's the Pacers and the Thunder in the NBA Finals. I think two of the young teams. A lot of people saying because they're small market teams that the league and stuff doesn't want these guys. They cannot watch it all they want. They're going to be missing out on two outstanding young teams. Talk about this in a second, real quick, with the conference finals. Real quick with the conference finals here as well. Pacers, I think, and the Knicks. We're going to talk about this too. Tom Thibodeau was fired by the Knicks. I think it was yesterday. So he's fired by the Knicks yesterday. We'll talk about that after the series. But in this series, I think the Pacers-Knicks series was everything we thought it was going to be. So the Knicks had John Starks slash Jalen Brunson. They had Patrick Ewing slash Karl Anthony Towns. They had Josh Hart slash Doc Rivers, Derek Hart, whatever you want to put it. And they just didn't have enough offense. They just didn't have enough offense to go against the Pacers. The Pacers are also very good defensively, but they could score more. And I think that's what happened there as well. It's hard to keep up that defensive pressure when you have so much, when you're so consistent on offense. They had a couple guys there, but it was really an issue. So that's the thing. So I think that's why the Pacers won. In the West, this was way more decisive. Thunder over the T-Wolves. T-Wolves, I no real beef with the T-Wolves. I think the T-Wolves, I just think aren't at the level of the Thunder, which is really good on defense. I think the Thunder, is probably probably not talked about. Look, they got 68 wins and 14 wins during the regular season. So the Thunder were just there. T-Wolves, I think they're just not consistent enough, like quite yet. Anthony Edwards has got to take that leap that people keep telling everybody he is and actually be more consistent in big games and tough games and things like that. Good in the first round. He kind of, to me, has a more of a Dominique Wilkins feel to him. Good in the first round, good in the regular season, good at time, but not all the way through. So that's the thing. No real problem, though, with that. These are two outstanding teams that we're getting in the NBA Finals as well. Tyrese Halliburton. I saw you, Tyrese. You thought you were going to win that Eastern Conference. You thought you were going to win that MVP in the Eastern Conference Final, and they gave it to Pascal Siakam. You thought you were going to get it. Tyrese Halliburton, I thought, was really good. I thought absolutely Tyrese Halliburton, definitely outstanding shooter, excellent ball movement. I think that he has as well. And I like the fact that he was a little bit more aggressive. He was a little bit more of a leader in this series. Handles the ball well, gets a lot of assists. I think that's kind of like you talk about him being the series of him and Reggie Miller. Definitely more of a passer. Definitely likes to defer a little bit at times. Not always just this volume scorer and this shooter, which he's very capable of doing. But 18 points, 19 points, these are regular season stats for Tyrese Halliburton. Pascal Siakam. This was the leading scorer during the course of the regular season. Pascal Siakam. Very underrated his entire career. His averages for his career have been about here everywhere he's been his entire career. He's been about a 20-plus point scorer during the course of his career. So he's really, really talented as well. Kind of goes under the radar. I mean, he's over 30 now. Did actually win the championship in Toronto. Thought they were going to build around him. Actually moved him. I thought it was a great move. But he was a guy, again, pacer, very pacer-like, getting a guy going under the radar. Tough and physical as well. Not afraid to go in there, get a tough shot and a foul, and do the dirty work and score. Very tough cover. Very unique. Kind of like Kevin McHale, like in that sense. Kind of just awkward in a way where you kind of don't know what to do with him. Miles Turner. You know, I heard it. He's been with them for 10 years. He is the senior member of the team, Miles Turner. So definitely he's going to have work to do against a very good Thunder team. They're going to have to play defense in this one. This is another series. It may not be as physical as it was with the Knicks, but they're going to need Miles Turner, Siakam, on the defense because this team has good defense and really good offense as well. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the best player in the NBA. If it's not Nikola Jokic, let's look. All of you that are surprised that this guy is great, stop being surprised. Better not be surprised. Like, this guy's been really good. It's typical with players that they always want to say. I say this in basketball all the time. Everybody's looking for Michael Jordan, right? He's not a highlight film. He's not this guy who has all these incredible moves, a little step back, a little fade away, a little all these things. But this guy is, I think, the best, the best, I think, player right now in the league that's not named Nikola Jokic. 32.7 points a game, 6 assists, and he is an excellent on-ball defender. Got to work it out for you, guarding this guy. Who's helping him? Jalen Williams. Can they keep him? That's going to be the only question, I think, for them in Oklahoma City. Actually, can you keep this guy? But they have a lot of really good meat and potatoes in Oklahoma City. So you have the guys that are going to score, Jalen Williams and SGA. They're going to go ahead and score. He's a 20-point scorer, but I think Siakam was more of a scorer. They had kind of similar, kind of meat and potatoes, kind of goes under the radar, scores a lot of points, but it's not really, it kind of goes under the radar. I think one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA is Isaiah Hartenstein. Hartenstein, I think, is fantastic. He definitely, like The Rock says, know your role. He doesn't do too much. Big, strong, tall, physical guy. You see a lot of his highlights. Okay, he's dunking the ball off a make, off rebound, playing good defense, getting his hands up, blocking shots, doing everything they need. They need to play good defense. This guy, I think, is the catalyst for their defense. Aaron Wiggins is there, I think, is outstanding for them as well. For the Thunder, I think the Thunder are really, really good. I just think, because they're in Oklahoma City, nobody knows this. Chet Holmgren, I think he can really be a really good player as well. Chet Holmgren. I think he missed half the season, 7 foot. This might be the best run franchise too in all sports. The Thunder. So definitely check that out. I like the Thunder all the way in this series, all the way. This one may be competitive, but I think it's going to be. I think the Thunder may horse race them. May go 6 games. They'll fight, but I think Oklahoma City Thunder wins this series pretty convincingly over the Pacers, but we'll see. Tom Thibodeau again fired by the Knicks. Ridiculous. Some of the commentary I've also heard is ridiculous. It's frustrating in life, in business. It seems like we're getting to the point in sports, in everything, where production and results don't matter. 3 coaches got fired taking their teams to the playoffs this year. 3 coaches. Taylor Jenkins, I think, was fired. I don't think he was fired. Was fired by Memphis. I did a video on Memphis. I thought Memphis was one of the best teams in the entire league. I mean, considering what was there, you had Ja Morant, who's a great player, got some issues maybe, and a bunch of young guys, and they're there ready to go, and he gets fired because of the losing streak. Bigger surprise, Mike Malone, who's actually won a world championship in Denver, he gets fired 10 days before the playoffs. He's actually won them a world title. And this one, I don't know if it's as egregious as that, but it's pretty close. Let me tell you something. Thibodeau, people keep thinking they're smarter than Tom Thibodeau. Why does he win wherever he goes? Why does he have success no matter where he's been? And they kind of always say the same thing. Well, he's grinding on players. Well, a coach is supposed to get the most out of the players. Your job is not to be their best friend. Your job is to get the most out of the players. They didn't give him much. He does well. He gets further than maybe you could even argue they should have. Not good enough. Unbelievable. I don't. Just results should matter in life. Results should matter. Now you can say somebody. The only thing I can say, Dylan in the street last night say, well, maybe they're not smart enough to figure this out. They're not smart enough to go ahead and be savvy with this and get somebody. Well, you need to go up. You got to the conference final. You haven't been there in I don't know how long. So it's just bad by the Knicks. Bad. Shame on the NBA. So impatient. Somebody put that in the comments when I posted impatient. That's exactly right. Impatient. And you handcuffed him. He does well with it. No, not good enough. And everywhere he leaves, they kind of give the same old BS argument. Well, he didn't do that, but he's winning. No championship on the resume, but I think that's fair that he didn't, you could say that, but definitely unbelievable that the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau after he's turned the whole thing around and got him farther than they had been. All right. So let's go ahead and do baseball summer here. And we're going to talk about, obviously, not the draft. Let's get set. Put me in cold. I'm ready to play today. And let's talk about our baseball summer series, week 2, all summer long. So we're starting here in the summer. We're talking about MLB and our minor league baseball. And this week, we're going to talk about not longer the Bowie Bay Sox, the AA affiliate for your Baltimore Orioles. The Bowie Bay, I know I was going to say it, the Chesapeake Bay Sox as well. All right, so the record, I don't think, is maybe a couple days old, but the Bay Sox, the minor league teams this year in the for the organization, not quite as good as we've been in more recent years. Not quite. Not quite doing what we were doing, but because the minor league system isn't quite as talented. But 23 and 27, I had that there. Roberto Mercado is the manager, fairly young guy. As well, Brian Shillcross, a long time Chesapeake Bay Sox general manager. Who's there? All right, so these are not the best performers, but some guys that are notable. One guy that's the Dominican Republic, Frederick Siscom, as well. He was there last year. He's there again this year. Had some injuries as well. Probably why he hasn't elevated from AA to AAA. Got maybe get his average up as well. Kind of the same with Max Wagner, 42nd pick in 2022. I'm not even sure he's healthy right now to play, but definitely he has been playing second base as well, not just the third base. Wagner struggling a bit. As he's going up in level, struggling a bit. A lot of natural talent. Played liked him in Clemson. And Nestor German as well. Played in the spring breakout game, 23 years old, 11th round pick, steadily moving up. Not easy. You picked in the 11th round in there. So definitely moving up. Not as quite as good as the list we have here as far as guys. So, AA, who is there right now? Key performers, Creed Williams. We will not have Creed Williams slander on this podcast. Creed Williams, I think, is a very, very fascinating prospect. I think, is he going to catch in the major leagues and be this great catcher? Absolutely not. Is he going to be a great first baseman? Maybe. Outfielder? He's going to hit for power. And he keeps doing it. And people keep saying, well, still very young, 7 home runs, 21 RBIs, hitting 270. I think he's probably been one of their best players as well. He's not as highly thought of as a prospect. There's always, whenever I bring up Creed Williams and me liking Creed Williams, it's always this tone of, well, I know this guy's going to hit for power. I know that. I mean, so definitely shout out Creed Williams. I like him in terms of that. Will he be a great major league? I don't know. But certainly he can definitely hit with some authority as well. Definitely, I think he'll be in AAA for sure. I think if he gets to AAA, I think you got to bring him up. I definitely think that's it. The number one prospect I think on this Bay Sox roster is Enrique Bradfield, center fielder. Missed some games with injury, so I think he's just now working his way back. No home runs, 2 RBIs, 8 stolen bases, 257 average, legs player. Definitely a lot of people think, and we'll see. I think he could be moving up to AAA even as soon as in a few weeks if he get himself healthy. Be the guy to actually be the one to replace Cedric Mullins in center field. A lot of people think that Bradfield can replace Cedric Mullins as early as 2020, as early as 2026. Even though he's in AA now, we'll see. I think Beavers may have something to say about that as far as that, but we'll see. Douglas Hodo, I think 24 years old, 4 runs, 12 RBI, stealing a lot of bases, using his great speed. A little bit older, not a great prospect per se, but again, he's doing well enough. I think he could continue to move up and get there. Jeremiah Jackson, same. Again, a little bit older, 24 home runs, 4 home runs, 19 RBI. Really, probably, I think he's their best power hitter there next to Creed Williams. Kind of been hitting in the middle of the order there as well for them. But I've seen him at 6-7 when I've seen the lineup cards with him. So we'll see. Ryan Long, I think, has been their best, has a good season for them. 25 years old. I think he's a little old for a prospect. I think like with him, good stuff. I think a reliever. I don't know if he's an MLB starter. I think if you move him up, I think we'll see. But he's 25 in AA. I'm not sure. Like you have a lot of long-term plans. Keegan Gillies, I think is fascinating. I think I see a lot of the makeup of him. This guy could be. You look at the ERA; it's microscopic. It's 0.76, 6 saves. Watching a lot of videos of him, like in the offseason training, things like that. Kind of a Felix Bautista makeup, maybe. I think he's a guy, even though he's kind of older, great arm. He can really get that thing like up to 99, etc. I could really see him with that type of profile. Felix Bautista, when they brought him up 3 levels during the course of the year. I definitely could see like a Keegan Gillies kind of do the same thing because he's really, really doing well this year at AA. So I think it's possible he can move to AAA pretty soon. And Braxton Bragg, I think might be the best pitching prospect in the Orioles organization right now. If it's not Michael Ferret, we're going to talk about here soon next week. But I think Bragg has been phenomenal. I think he's been their best pitcher this season in the minor leagues as well. 1.24 ERA, been dominant. For sure, they're going to move him up. I mean, the way he keeps going, he's been really, really good as well. So I think Max and Bragg, I think definitely – look, Orioles need to move up some pitching. You look for Michael Ferret, you look for Braxton Bragg, you look for Keegan Gilly, you look for guys – they don't have the top 100 prospects, so they may have to move up some guys that they don't like. Or not, I won't say don't like, or not as highly regarded. And hopefully that they come around. Look, DL Hall's gone. You may not have Grayson. They traded away some guys. These are going to be your guys that you're going to need. And I don't think you're going to spend a whole lot of money. So I think it's a possible we could see him in the MLB at some point. There you go. All right. So there it is. The Chesapeake Bay Sox as well. So definitely check that out as well. And baseball is going on all summer. Definitely check that out. Like I said, I'm going to a baseball game next Wednesday night. That's why we're doing the podcast on Thursday night as well. I'm going to have a good time at the games with the family. I usually go to one game at least. So I got tickets to go. So I'm going to go ahead and go there. So we're going to be meeting next Thursday night as well with that. He's been running a game on shares with me for about a month. Unbelievable time, Thibodeau. What was fire. I know it was supposed to stay, but that was just crazy. Orioles report. All right, so let's go over this Baltimore Orioles, the week that was. Movement here as well. Kobe Mayo is back. For those of you that didn't know, Kobe Mayo contract was selected as well. Jordan Adams also was selected from Norfolk. I thought that was kind of weird, frankly. That we just talked about Bradfield, we talked about Dylan Beavers as well. So they kind of left him in the minors and brought Jordan Adams, and he really hasn't even played as of yet. Ryan Mountcastle goes on a 10-day DL, and Chadwick Trump designated for assignment as well. So you bring guys up, you have to bring guys down. Bring up Kobe Mayo. How'd you like Kobe Mayo going ahead in the baseline and in the first game getting involved, knocking the White Sox guys? I loved it. There you go, Rook. It looks different too. He looks more confident. He looks ready to be here. I think so far, like what I've seen from Kobe Mayo as well. Hopefully we can get Mountie back pretty soon. Mountie's really struggled this year. Try to get him right. So Kalano Perez was waived by the Orioles. We talked about that last week. So he's cleared outright waivers and now is in Norfolk. He accepted the assignment. So now he's pitching now for the Norfolk Tides. I think it's a chance he could get right. I think it's a chance that that Perez that can get on the right side of this thing as well. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a real electric arm. He really throws as well. He can't even relievers can't just rely on heat though. His off-speed stuff is just not consistent enough a lot of times. He can't just throw heat all the time. It's not that good. It's not like it's 100 plus or something like that where he can just throw heat all the time. He's got to develop other stuff. Orioles activate Colton Cowser. After a dominant rehab start, the Orioles designate outfield Cooper Hamill. I think I spent more time talking about being sent up and down as I have on the team. So Cooper Hamill designated for assignment, both to make room on the 26-man roster and the 40-man roster. And Cowser was great last night, hit a home run, got right back in the thick thing. So Milkman, really good. Really bad to lose Colton Cowser. I think Cowser is really on the cusp being a really good player. I think it's really going to help the offense to have Cowser back as well. Hamill, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to be in Norfolk and be able to take him again as well. Feel bad somewhere for the guy because they've been really jerking him around as far as up and down without even having a real chance to play. Orioles are on a 4-game winning streak. Streak begins on May 30th and extends to June 3rd. Have not played tonight. Game's about to start here tonight. Recent victory against the Mariners on June 3rd. So haven't won 4 games all in a row all year. They're on a 4-game winning streak. 3 in a row against the White Sox. 1 right now against the Mariners. The pitching has improved exponentially in the last few games. The in a row, quality starts from Eflin, Morton, Sagano, Trevor Rogers. Excellent quality starts from these guys. Offense, I think, is also starting to move a little bit. I think it's not as bad as it was. Holiday's growing right before us, as we know. Rushman, I think, was good in the last game, at least. And still, I don't think we're seeing nearly the potential from Gunnar and Adley like we should. O'Hearn's been phenomenal. Some stuff is starting to move. Have they dug too big of a hole for themselves? This is the question. And it's possible that they have too big of a hole for themselves as well. More cavalry. Jordan Hesberg with the hamstring has been elevated after playing a AAA game in Norfolk. Will be evaluated, rather. AAA game in Norfolk. We're just a couple days away from Jordan Westberg coming back in. So Westberg, I think, is going to be back, I would think, by this weekend. That's just a guess. But I think Jordan Westberg definitely clearing all the hurdles and getting him back. I think they'd love to get him back in here at third base at some point soon. Voting is officially underway for the 2025 All-Star Game at Truist Park, home of the Atlanta Braves. Definitely Holiday and O'Hearn. Everybody's talking about O'Hearn getting an All-Star game. Look at it. Jackson Holiday might be the best second baseman in the American League. Hey, Holiday has been really, really good in the stretch. As we know, he's been growing right before us, and it is possible he could go to his first All-Star game. We'll see as well how the vote goes and everything like that, but it's possible he could get picked as an All-Star. Who's hot? Dylan Carlson, DC. Dylan Carlson. Felix Bautista, I think, has been good. Still doesn't look all the way right to me, but I think he's been solid. I think he's been solid enough to keep a job. And yes, that's right, Charlie Morton is on here. Charlie Morton was really good in his last start. Got a standing ovation, 6 2/3, really good in his last start. I think he's probably looks like he's straightened himself out, so good for him, Charlie Morton. So they don't have to waste $15 million. Kerstad was good in the game, I think, on Tuesday, but I think he's really been scuffling. I still have to keep him on this list, but hopefully we can get some more from Kerstad. Cano has really struggled as well. We're not seeing him also, too, in the eighth inning. I think you're seeing him a little bit less because he's really struggling. Hopefully you get it right. If I got to see one more time Greg Soto in a high-leverage situation, I'm going to lose my mind. Why do you continue to go to him, especially in times when there's runners on base late in games, etc.? Why? Why do you keep doing it? And he keeps struggling. He keeps giving up these runs. Why do you? I don't understand that. So why go to somebody else? Well, it seems like every time they had a situation, they want to. The manager goes to Greg Soto. I don't get it. He's not doing well, and I'm calling them the Sacramento A's as well. So this week, the Orioles are going to be in Sacramento, and also to not Seattle. They already play Seattle. And Detroit and the Detroit Tigers as well are going to be there. Detroit, I think, the best record in all of baseball. I think the best pitching in all of baseball. I think they're really good. Sorry about the graphic with it. Like that. A situation is a complete mess. They're actually not that bad. But they're playing in a minor league stadium. I saw today a Brody Brazil video like where they tried to get a guy who was injured on the field to the dugout. It's not in the dugout. It's all there. They got him on the cart. The cart ran out of gas. You're going to compete with the Yankees. Like, that's just stuff like that. It's just crazy. Player of the week. I got Brian Baker. I think he's been their best reliever this season. I think there's no question about it. Gave up some runs, not as 0.000 ERA. But, yeah, we're going to go with Brian Baker. I thought he was good. He had to save the other week. Last week, when they whipped Bautista too many times, had the hole in the game last night. Brian Baker, player of the week. Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy the games, NBA Finals, a lot of good stuff going on. Definitely check us out next Thursday. One more time, Thursday, 8 o'clock for our broadcast. Driving to the Top Productions. I'll be on there pretty soon. Definitely check that out if you're watching this live here on our Twitter page and our YouTube page. Definitely check it out. Talking a little AFC North stuff. Thank you, and you have a great rest of your day.